Hello and welcome to Big Orbit's Cardfight Vanguard weekly update. My name is James and today I'll be going through the cards shown throughout the past 7 days. Starting off this week we have the RRR Grade 2 Wyvern Strike Doha. The first skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. When placed from hand, cost Counterblast 1, set for a Wyvern Strike Garen, call it to Rearguard Circle and shuffle your deck. Superior calling in Kagero is always very useful, as it would be good to keep the hand size. And it also has continuous rearguard circle during the battle that it attacked. If your opponent has no rearguards, your opponent cannot call normal units from his or her hand to Guardian Circle. This shouldn't be too much of an issue for your opponent, but it's a nice little way to make them overguard the attack. The card it looks for is the Grade 1 Wyvern Strike Garen. The first skill is continuous rearguard circle during your turn. If your opponent has no rearguards, this unit gets plus 5000 power. So although Doha was only a 9k, this becomes a 22k column, and it has auto rearguard circle. When the attack gets boosted, Wyvern Strike Doha hits, cost Counterblast 1 and draw a card and Soul Charge 1. So not only do they get the superior call to keep their hand size, but they can keep adding to it with these two cards together, and combining the power up and guard restrict, it's pretty nice. Now if you recognise those two cards, you might know Grade 3 we'll see next, and it's the RRR Dragonic Blade Master. It has continuous Vanguard Circle. If your opponent has no rearguards, this unit gets plus 5000 power and plus 1 critical, and also has Act Vanguard Circle once per turn. If Wyvern Strike Doha and Wyvern Strike Garen are on Rearguard Circle, cost Soul Blast 1 Grade 3 and discard 2 cards. Retire all your opponent's rearguards, call a Vision token to Rearguard Circle, and at the end of the turn, retire it. The Vision token is a Grade 3, power 13,000, critical 1, and has Twin Drive. This is why they will want your opponent to have an empty field. Although any deck can use the Grade 2 and Grade 1, it is best suited to Blade Master, and Blade Master gets past the resist cards as well. It's also nice to have the Vanguard do all the retiring, so it means your Grade 1s and Grade 2s can focus on something else. It's very interesting to see our first Strider Grade 3 in the V series, and this means we may see more in the near future. No doubts we'll see Alter Ego Messiah at some point in probably the next Link Joker set after this one. The Vision token, as I said, is a Grade 3 with 13k power and Twin Drive, and yes, it can Twin Drive from the Rearguard Circle, meaning that the discard 2 for Blade Master skill doesn't really hurt at all. To help the consistency of the deck further, we have the backup RRR Grade 3 Shine Bardish Dragon. The skill is Auto Vanguard Circle Rearguard Circle. When placed, cost Soul Blast 1, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Blade Master from among them, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck, and this unit gets plus 5000 power till the end of the turn. And this is yet again more hand advantage, which seems to be the theme of Blade Master. An overall great first ride, as Blade Master needs to Soul Blast a Grade 3 anyway for his skill. To break away from the Blade Master cards, we have Kagero's VR for the set, Dragonic Overlord The End. Naturally is a Grade 3 and has Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle that it attacked, activate one of the following effects. However, you cannot activate them for the same turn. The first effect is, if your hand has 4 or less cards, cost Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, stun this unit, and it gets Drive -1 until the end of the turn. And the second effect is probably the one you want to use first, as if your soul has a card with Overlord in its card name, cost discard 3 cards from your hand, stun this unit, and it gets power plus 10,000 and -1 drive until the end of the turn. You can use the first one even if it's your first ride, which is pretty useful, and you don't even need to discard for it. But if you've got too many cards in your hand, the second skill can enable the first. It would, however, get you no drive checks on the third attack, leaving you pretty vulnerable with a low shield. Still, the clue is in the name that you're supposed to use this as your final push when using both the skills of the N. He has a Grade 2 partner with Wyvern Strike Decat, a RRR that has Act Rearguard Circle, cost Counterblast 1 and put this unit into your soul. Choose one of your Dragonic Overlord The End, and when your opponent would pull a card from hand to Guardian Circle for the battles that the unit attacked this turn, he or she must call 2 or more at the same time. This suddenly makes the 3 attacks so much stronger, and see your opponent with a small hand size, then they're pretty much dead at that point. This also promotes the new form of Force Gifts, as giving your Vanguard a permanent 2 critical with this card and 3 attacks is pretty much the end of the game. You can also choose Dragonic Overlord The End on Rearguard Circles for this skill to add more pressure. Dragon Knight Mukhtar is a Grade 2 and has Act Rearguard Circle once per turn, costs Counterblast 2 and Soul Blast 1. Choose 2 of your opponent's rearguards and retire them, and this unit gets plus 5000 power to the end of the turn. This is fairly good value for retiring 2, and it's an act, so you can use this turn after turn. Just make sure you got ammo on the field at least to refund some of the cost. Another grade 3 is Exile Dragon. The first skill is Act Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. Once per turn, cost Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. So choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. Then he also has Auto Rearguard Circle. At the end of the battle that attacked the Vanguard, if your opponent has no rearguards in the same column as this unit, you may return this unit to your hand. This means you can go into it on Vanguard Circle for another Force Gift, or in Premium you can use it as Stride Fodder next turn. Nova Grappler get the Hero Grade 3 Savannah Wild. His skill is Auto Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. When placed, costs Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 2, and retire all your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this unit. If the retired units are 1 or less, this unit gets plus 15,000 power until the end of the turn. Being able to retire a column in Nova Grappler is pretty cool, and the power up is pretty big as well. The only problem is that you'll need to make sure you can get the Counterblast back if you're going to run this in Heroes, because Valiant Spinner is going to really need it. Another hero is the Grade 2 Warrior of Chakra. When your Vanguard is attacked, you can Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets 1000 shield for each damage you have. This can get a silly amount of shield and could really help with the longevity of the game. It's hard to say how well Heroes will do with the Soul, but it's nice to know they have some good defenses. After all, with this and Girly Donny, Dragonic Waterfall suddenly becomes a lot easier to guard. Vernal Cracker is a non-hero grade 2 with the skill of Auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks, this unit gets plus 3000 power to the end of the battle for each of your other rearguards. An AK base doesn't hurt this deck, as Nova Grappler always want to go wide anyway, so this card should be powering up a ton very easily. This week we have Harmonics Messiah, the VR for Link Joker. Her first skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks, search your deck for up to one card and put it on Rearguard Circle as a locked card and shuffle your deck. That's pretty insane, getting any unit in your deck for free. And normally you'd have to wait a turn to use it, but she also has Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. At the end of the battle that it attacks, if your soul has a grade 3 or greater card, cost Counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Choose any number of fighters' locked cards, unlock them, and draw the same number of cards. The two rearguards in your front row get plus 15,000 power to the end of the turn. This gives you extra attacks, especially as you can call over rested units for the first ability. The draw is also amazing, as you'll likely be able to draw 2 or 3 cards on average, so that discard 1 is nothing. So you'll very likely get the 15k power. To get the cost back of the Counterblast, we have the 7k grade 1, Cauldron Wing. He has Act Rearguard Circle. If Harmonics Messiah is on Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle, or if you have a locked card, cost Soul Blast 1 and lock this unit, and Countercharge 1. So not only do you get your Countercharge back, but you also draw more cards because you locked this card, and better chance of getting the power up with Messiah. Lady Battler of the Gravity Well is a RRR grade 2, and has the skill of Auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks, costs Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Look at the top card of your deck and put it on Rearguard Circle as a locked card, and draw a card. Yet again, more ways of calling locked cards over the top of rusted units. So you could get a full column of locked cards with this and Messiah, and then unlock it for an extra full column attack, though Soul Blasting may become a problem after a while. Though to help the Soul Blasting cost, we have Blast Monk of Thundering Foot, who is a RRR grade 2 and has Auto Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. When it attacks a Vanguard, cost Counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, bind it face down. If it was a grade 2 or greater, Soul Charge 1. So it's going to be a juggling act between Counterblasting and Soul Blasting, which is pretty interesting, and easy access to binding cards like this is very useful for any deck. Remarkable Blast Monk is a grade 2 with Auto Rearguard Circle. When it is unlocked, cost Counterblast 1, reveal the top card of your deck and put it into your hand. If it was a grade 3, then cost discard 2 cards from your hand and stand your Vanguard. The chance of another Messiah attack is pretty scary, as she would keep the power boost, but it is costly, and her second skill is once per turn, so you can't abuse the extra attacks. Though saying all this, it's unlikely that the card revealed will be a grade 3 unless they have a way to manipulate the deck. Lastly, for Link Joker, we have the grade 1 Black Star of Augmentation, Veil Rouser. His skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. Locked card is put, or when your card is locked, this unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn. This is generally a nice consistent power buff, as you'll likely be locking cards every turn anyway, so you'll be at least a 13k booster, which is nothing to sniff at. On to the premium collection cards for the week. We have a mixture of old and new with the Link Joker Stride, Death Star Vader, Glue Ball, Avalanche. His skill is Continuous G-Zone. If you have 2 more face-up Death Star Vader, Glue Ball, Avalanche in your G-Zone, when your opponent's card would be unlocked, bind it face down instead. This is extremely punishing for denying you a card and making you get rid of it once you'd normally be able to use it again. It's similar to how Chaos Breaker Dragon was, but with no cost. The second skill is Act Vanguard Circle once per turn, cost Soul Blast 1 and turn a card from your G-Zone face up. Choose what 2 of your opponent's rear guards, lock them, and for each of your opponent's locked cards, add face down cards in their bind zone. All your front row gets plus 2000 power until the end of the turn. So this is great early game for the setup and great late game for the boosting of power of the front row. For a final blow, Fancy Mega Trick Dark Lord Princess is Pale Moonstride and has auto Vanguard Circle at the end of the battle that it attacked Vanguard cost. Turn a card from your G-Zone face up, stride a face up G unit from your G-Zone with power and the Magia ability on Vanguard Circle as stand, and it gets drive -2 until the end of the turn. If you stride, call this card to Rearguard Circle. This is a really odd ability, but I like it a lot. This, with striding into Masquerade Master Harry, will let you fill up 4 Rearguard Circles in total, which is a lot of pressure for the first stride of the game. Dark Irregulars get Evil God Pontiff Gastiel Daimonos. His first skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. When a card is put into the soul, all of your front row get power plus 3000 until the end of the turn, and has the interesting ability of Act Vanguard Circle once per turn, cost Counterblast 1, and turn a card from your G-Zone face up. Search your deck for up to 2 cards, put them into your soul, and shuffle your deck. This unit gets all the abilities of the cards put into the soul by the effect of this turn. Getting 2 cards of any choice for this skill is crazy, and you can even do some silly things like give him a Legion, put Death Anchor into the soul to be able to Superior Ride afterward, and Master of 5th Element to stand your whole field back up, and so on. It could be worth running 1 or 2 city cards just for this skill. The Dark Zone Progenitor Dragon is Progenitor Dragon of Gloomy Dark for Mido. The skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. When placed, cost Counterblast 1. Your opponent chooses the same number of his or her rearguards as the number of open rearguard circles and retires them. If 3 or more were retired, you soul charge 5 and draw a card. This is amazing for the first stride as long as you have an empty field, and can be good late game if you have ways of putting cards into the soul from rearguard circle, or if you are against heavy retire. Stargate get their dragon too with Progenitor Dragon of Horizon Limit or Rigorum. Interestingly, it has auto Vanguard Circle. When it attacks, costs Counterblast 1 and increase or decrease the power of all your opponent's units to 0 until the end of the turn. I suppose this makes sense as both Deleters and the Dark Side of Dimensional Police have power down skills, but this could be very scary against Dimensional Police with their burst mechanic or Nova Grappler, with retiring units that are weaker than themselves and also getting the extra attacks that they're known for. And finally for this week, we have a couple of promos, the first one being Nova Grappler's The Turbo Gust Type 1. It's a grade 1 with Act, cost Counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 2000 power to the end of the turn. So that is not very good, but it also has the interesting ability of Auto Rearguard Circle. When it is attacked without being boosted, this unit cannot be hit until the end of the battle. It's a bizarre ability as it doesn't seem like a threat anyway, so the likelihood that you're going to attack unit is low, but people are saying terrible things about this card as it's not very good, but wait until we may see Type 2 and Type 3 of this card that may give it some use. Genie Soldier is a grade 2 for Kagero and has continuous rearguard circle. If none of your opponent's rearguards were retired this turn, this unit cannot. Keeping a restraint-like skill is nice, and it also has continuous rearguard circle during the battle that attacked Vanguard. This unit gets power plus 10,000. It's a nice beater, but you need to decide whether plus 10k is enough to warrant the restraint skill. We also get to see art from the 3 VRs of VEBO 8 this week. Glory Maelstrom, which we have seen before for Aquaforce. Grand Blue get Kaitis back, which is pretty cool, and Dimension Police get an entirely new unit with Superior Dimensional Robo Dieliner. People are going to be upset that it's not Daikaiser, but this doesn't mean we won't see him at all in the set. And that is everything for this week. Be sure to check out next week when I'll be going through the cards around the next 7 days, and be sure to tell me which of these cards is your favourite for this week. So hope to see you next time. Bye.